Welcome to the Smart Influencer Podcast. I'm Christina.
And I'm Corinne.
And together we help digital entrepreneurs streamline their businesses, maximize revenue, and finally feel in control of their time.
Every week we share tried and true strategies, proven systems, and expert interviews to help you grow your influence and income without the burnout. So if you're ready to get smarter about how you run your business, you're in the right place.
Now, before we dive in, if you love what you hear, be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you find today's conversation helpful, share it with a friend who could use it too.
So today we are chatting with Lahana Vigliano, hopefully I got that right, from Nuvitru Wellness. And we are going to be talking about our health and wellness and how important that is as entrepreneurs. And I'm super excited because this is we haven't talked about this before in this way. So I'm super excited. So welcome to the show, Lahana. Why don't we start out by you letting our listeners know a little bit about you and what you do?
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I love group podcasts because it just feels like we're all just meeting up for lunch and we're all just grouping it together. So I love it. Thank you for having me. But I love this topic and I love touching on podcasts that it's all about the strategy and the things that we do behind. But we often forget sometimes we're so busy with all the things, we forget about ourselves. So that's why I love bringing light to that. So I was a health lover so young, literally in elementary school. So that's always been something that I've always, I don't know, just naturally was driven to, I guess. So I planned to be an MD because, back in the day, that's kind of what there only was. If you wanted to be in the healthcare field, you were a nurse or a doctor, right? And so I wanted to do that until I was actually in pre-med. And then I started being taught a pill for an ill and really understanding what the healthcare system was. And even though that there's absolutely a time and a place for it, there were still so many questions that come in of well, why did we get here in the first place? Instead of being this person has this diagnosis, here's the medication. Well, why? And then also our bodies are so incredible. What could we be doing to even not have to always turn to pharmaceuticals? And so I also, backing up a little bit, became a mom at 17. And so now he's 15 and he drives and it's crazy. But that was obviously a pivotal moment for me because, as being a mom, your whole world changes, the way you think changes. And so even just being well, I don't want my kid to be a statistic either. So I feel that was kind of a flip switch for me. And gosh, yeah, it's just crazy how everything that fell into place was there for a reason and it moved me into the next step of where I was supposed to be. So then I got married, then we had our second daughter. And that's when I switched my majors, which felt very scary because, like I said, this has been this is what I'm going to do since I was in elementary school. And I wanted to do it both in trying to understand health on a broader root cause scale, but also just, in the back of my head, I was a mom of two now. So I want something that's flexible. I want to be there for my kids. So just all these thoughts going on in my head. And so I finished my undergrad in nutrition and my master's and my doctorate are both in nutrition. But when my daughter was 8 months old, I started getting bored. I just felt there was something more. I wanted to be, I love being a mom, but I wanted to really put my degree to use. And I knew that there was something out there for me. So I was just let's start a business because I exactly know what to do. No, absolutely not. But I was just let's start it. What's the harm? And I love that. I always say in early entrepreneurship, you live in this little Delulu land where you just feel do this, which is a good thing because that's what helps get us through. I always joke that I'm gosh, if I knew everything that I had to do now being 10 years in business at this point, I'm would I have done it? But anyways, so that's what got me onto entrepreneurship and nutrition. And my kids were a really big part of that.
So it's funny. I guess it doesn't matter what industry or what line your path, your life takes you down. When you go into entrepreneurship, we all experience the same thing. Whether you're a doctor or a digital influencer, it's all the same.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so relatable. That if you had any idea, I just remember thinking when I started blogging, I was going to spend a couple hours a day writing. That's what I thought blogging was. And that was going to be so fun and enriching. And it is fun and enriching, but that was not the job at all.
Yes. Yes,
That
I know.
wasn't
It's
even part of the job, really.
yes, it ends up being what you actually are getting into business for
Yeah.
tends to be a small percentage of what you actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I
Yeah, we
feel
always
that.
say you're not working in your business, you have to work on your business.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's
Yes.
where we spend most of our time. So,
Yes. And I bootstrap too, and we're still bootstrapping. I don't plan to have investors. So, when people are bootstrapping their businesses, that also means you got to wear lots of different hats. And yeah, I built like my first three websites and all that stuff. But I feel like all those skills that you do in the beginning, they really build you to the leader that you want to be and the business you want to be. You kind of have to be in that messy middle for a while.
ooh, I like that. I'm writing that term down, messy
The
middle.
messy middle. I know.
Yes.
I
So I
love
have to tell you, Lohana, that the reason like when we were reading like what about what you can talk about, the thing that really resonated because we were like nodding our heads as we're reading through it is how to overcome burnout, brain fog, and energy crashes, which is like
all
literally the
things
day to
life,
day for us. So
my life.
whatever like whatever secrets you have about that, like we are here for it.
Spill the tea, sister.
I
Yes.
love that. And I will say that's like that would be the message of it is that there's no magical pill for that. Which I feel like there's a lot of noise in the wellness field. It's a blessing and a curse for having so much information, education out there in the world on social media and the internet. But at the same time, it's also very confusing. And at the end of the day, it really depends on the person. This is everyone's favorite magical answer. It depends on the person because it really is.
We
Like we
love an
have
it depends answer. Yeah.
we
For
have
everything.
patients who can do salmon and some patients that can't, or same with broccoli and same with blueberries. Like, and those are all things that are considered healthy, right? But it depends on the person. And so, unfortunately, sometimes all the information of like what to do can one seem overwhelming. So then it's like no one takes action because it's like analysis by paralysis by analysis. Which
Analysis
way is that?
paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I got you.
That. And yeah, so I would say the first thing that I see when it's the brain fog and the burnout and the energy is simply women just aren't eating enough. And everyone is different in the numbers for sure. But they typically are eating 1,500 calories or less, and calories are one tiny little part of nutrition. So that's not the major part, but it's a big part. Because how can we expect to feel amazing and energized when we're barely putting gas in the car?
Mhm.
And so that's just something that we just need to realize. And a lot of our women are one, they're not actually eating unhealthy. They're actually eating pretty decent. And then two, they always say, I am eating enough. I'm following my hunger cues. I'm eating when I'm hungry. I'm not trying to starve myself. I'm not trying to restrict, but they're still eating so little. And they're eating the amount of like what a toddler needs, which is like 300, 1,300,
Hmm.
1,200, 1,400. And so I'm like, we're a grown woman. How do you expect to, again, feel so good with such little food? So
Mhm.
if I had to really see the biggest common denominator in all of our patients, not all, but most, is actually just under eating. And again, we don't know it because we're like, I'm not hungry. I'm not trying to like, skip a meal or whatnot, but it just is because your body gets used to it.
Right.
So I would say that's number one, because if you don't have the fuel, we can't expect anything, right? It's just going to make sure that that priority of your food that you are intaking is going to the things that keep you alive. It really doesn't care if you thrive at the end of the day, but if you're alive, that's what we're going for, right? So like our brain, our heart, our lungs, all these things that are vital, that's always top priority. Everything else, our hair that we love, but it's really not a priority to be honest. Our energy, not necessarily a priority, as long as you were able to be alive, right? There's all these things that we want, but we're just not doing what our body needs to get there. So I would say eating enough is so key. Um, the other thing lately that I've been seeing when it comes to food is I do think, there's always a subset of people still that are not choosing the healthiest foods, very processed, ultra processed foods. But now we're seeing a subset of people that are choosing better quality, which is awesome, right? Like grass-fed jerky. Like, I love that. I love that we're moving away from the really popular 90s, early 2000s processed food. But we're still substituting that and that being our meal and grabbing the grass-fed beef jerky and the dried fruit versus an actual meal with fresh food. And so I always say we need to start assessing our plate with can you grow it or can you kill it? And if you can say yes, and you're looking at this, like I can grow this in my garden or I can go hunt this right now, we're on the right track. But if you are thinking, looking down at your meal and you're like, well, this needs, yes, I can kill it. It has good ingredients, or yes, I can grow it, but it does need to be made into like a factory or something before I can eat this. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that doesn't have a place for a quick snack or something on the go or emergency. I'm like queen. I have like the Mary Poppins bag. So I have like every snack you can think of. And all my family like complains, but I'm like, if we get a car broken down and we can't go anywhere and there's no food, none of y'all better ask me
Yeah.
for my snacks because you complain about it. So I agree that there's a time and a place, but we're substituting a meal that we are simply just not putting as a priority. A lot of women that are doing so much, we let our calendars fill up with kid stuff, business stuff, everything else. And our meals and our self-care is, well, if we get to it.
Yeah.
If we get to it, I'll fit it in. When
Mm.
it actually needs to be the reverse. We need to be building our calendar with meal times literally blocked out so no one can book a call. We need to be, making those boundaries within even our family. My kids know that they only do one sport. I don't care if you love three. I don't care because I am one, making sure that our nervous systems are regulated, right? As two, I'm trying to raise kids that are also regulated and not growing future adults that are chronic distress and can't understand to relax. So those are some things that even just within our life, I feel like those boundaries and making that exercise a priority, you're putting that in your calendar, you're putting that meal in your calendar. These are the things that really fuel us and take care of our body so we can serve our family and our friends and our business and our employees the way that we want to, right? So I think that there's just a little mismatch with priorities nowadays.
Yeah, I think it sounds so simple, right? Like just put it in your calendar. But I don't do that. And I need to do it because I will tell you, and Corinne knows this when we get together, I forget to eat lunch.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like lunch is just not a thing for me. When I remember, it's usually 3:30, and then it's like, oh, well, we're gonna have dinner in an hour and a half. Why
Hmm.
bother eating lunch? Because we're gonna have dinner, and then I could just wait, you know? So I hardly ever eat lunch.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. And your body's used to that. So you may not
Yeah.
feel like negative effects to
Yeah,
that,
I'm not
but
starving. I
then
don't feel hunger pain.
yeah. Yeah, but then when you get to a point where that's a habit, you'll totally be like, I need lunch.
Yeah.
And that's a
Well,
good
I was
sign.
like
That's a
that
good
with
sign.
breakfast. Like years ago, I never had breakfast. Now
Yes.
I'm like probably about 30, 40 minutes after I wake up, it's like, oh, now I'm starving. I need to eat. Body needs to eat.
Yes, exactly. And that's actually a good sign. When someone says like you wake up and you're not hungry, I'm like, that's a really big red flag.
Hmm.
Or within the first hour, it doesn't have to be right when you wake up, but
Yeah.
within the first hour, your hunger should be like popping.
Well, my eyes
So
don't really
yes.
open up for the first 20 minutes. So,
So yes, start putting lunch in your calendar. It can
mm,
be, and don't ignore it, right? I know
right.
sometimes we put things in our calendar and be like, well,
Yeah.
I could do this instead. Really like follow through with it like an appointment.
Okay. I can do
Okay,
that.
I hear you, Lahana. I do. I do, and I don't disagree with anything you said. I don't. But but I know myself, like especially on like I have meeting days on my calendar and then I have dedicated work days. And on my dedicated work days, since I know I've got a meeting day the very next day, like I will like we call it bullet training. Like I go and I'll go, that's when I do my deep work. It is really hard for me to pull myself out of that. And like again, I guess I hear you and I believe you, but there's a part of me that is really resisting it. That it's like, oh, but you have to get that work done because it's the only time you have to do that work. So I don't want you to think I'm not listening to what you're saying. And like I hear that we shouldn't be doing processed foods, like it should be a meal that like is whole foods, natural foods. I got you on that. But can you pretty please for like the twin in me that just doesn't want to step away from work or only wants to do it for 10 or 15 minutes and doesn't want to make a whole meal
Yeah.
from scratch, just share some tips or tricks
Yeah.
on how you can do that in a shorter span of time. Like I hear you that like
Yeah.
ideally we'd be blocking off a more serious chunk of time, but in
Yeah.
reality, I'll end up skipping lunch half the time because I don't have the faster way to do it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And well, if the biggest barrier is going to be the quickness of food, there's everything from meal prepping in the weekend. And that's actually not my thing. A lot of people think that's like my secret. I'm like, no, I actually don't meal prep at all. I just make extra dinner for dinner and then I'll eat that for lunch. So that's typically what I do. But some people like to do different things. And so there's different meal places that you can buy pre-made meals that are healthy. I know it depends on like where you live, if there's something locally to you or something that is a little bit more national. There's one that I did for a little bit. It's okay. There's still some kind of questionable stuff, but it's easy to kind of work around. I'll see if that comes to me. I did it for so
We have
long.
Clean Eats here, and I love their
Oh,
stuff.
cool. I think I've heard of
Mhm.
them before. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have that instead, or just keep it simple. I also like always lean on like tuna salad, which is so quick to make,
Yeah.
or like egg salad or something like that if I'm like really, really in a pinch. But I definitely rely on like leftovers to make it crazy simple for me.
That is when I eat lunch, it is always
Yeah,
leftovers because
Yeah.
I like dinner food. It's
yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite.
My suggestion to you, Corinne, would be make your lunch in the morning, like you're going to work. Like pack your lunch and take it to the
True.
office,
So
right? Like,
here is my issue with that. That would be great for me because as Christina knows, I'm a morning person. Like I'm up
Me
at
too.
5:30 a.m. and that is like when I'm fresh, my brain's on, I'm full of energy. But like I hate packed lunches. I hate cold lunches. I don't like sandwiches. I don't like wraps. I don't like salads. I twice a year I crave a salad and it better have a hot entree following it. So that
Like
is
the
my
kick
only
food.
issue with that, Christina. Otherwise, it's a fabulous idea.
Yeah,
put a
yeah.
microwave right next to your desk.
Yeah, that's so funny. I guess the second barrier to that one, outside of like food itself, is just I think the habit. You just have to break the habit,
Yeah.
and start, even though like it sounds like you block time for certain parts of work, and just lessening that. And you don't have to take an hour break, right? But if you are in front of the computer, I will say it really comes down at the end of the day, and maybe this is like therapy and like needing to deep dive into like what that is deep down, but it's like, why aren't you putting your body as a priority? It is just as important as business. And you may feel that way. And it's very easy to brush this off when nothing is wrong. Like if you're feeling okay, if you don't have any diagnoses that you're trying to overcome, it's very easy to kind of take health for granted.
Hmm.
And so whenever I do feel that way, I have to ask myself, if I got a call yesterday or tomorrow and they were like, you have cancer, will I regret my decisions of what I did previously and wish I could go back to there and be like, I wish I would have made time to exercise, to eat, to do whatever, right? To reduce stress. And I always feel like that's a mindset shift that helps me. And that's helpful for me because I'm like, terrified of chronic illness and I
Wow.
just never want to deal with it. And I don't want anyone to deal with it. So if I could ever help anyone to never hear those words, like my mission in life is done, complete, checked off.
Yeah.
So to me, that always puts a fire under me of like, yeah, I want to be, that may still happen, right? There's things that are out of our control to some degree that I just do want to look back and be like, no, I truly did everything. And so if you ever feel like you can't get out of the business work, one, try to shift your schedule. And if you time block, like to blocking that shorter amount of time for each thing to kind of leave that open space, because in that lunch break, it's not only about eating, it's also about infusing a little bit of lightheartedness into your work or into your work day. Like sometimes for lunch, I will just read a book for 15 minutes. I love reading, I'm a reader. And so I just need that mental break for that afternoon creativity bump. And sometimes it's getting out inside of nature. If I'm inside facing a screen and you doing that for 8 hours, that in itself isn't the best either.
Yeah.
And so I'll try to get that fresh air. I'll try to ground, maybe just walk around my block real quick. So there's other things outside of just eating that can really help you with your productivity, to be honest, that you might find yourself you need a little bit less work time because you're more productive, because you're refreshed.
True.
And
Yeah.
I'm
I do
thinking
that.
maybe if you have that appointment on your calendar, or like let's say it is on the work day, right? We put that lunch break in the calendar and we see, okay, from 9 to noon, I have my work time. Like now you have a definitive end. Like like it kind of puts that that time window on there that like, okay, I've got 3 hours. I'm gonna nail this in 3 hours. Like instead of saying I've got all afternoon to work, like all day to
Right.
work on this.
Right. Because
And
we've
that's a
said that before. Like, I will take as long as I have
Right.
to work on something.
yeah.
So if
And
I've got an
too,
hour, it's an hour. If it's three, I've got take
Yeah.
three.
So hit
yeah,
pause right now and go block out your meal
right
times
now.
on your calendar and then come back and listen to the rest of the show.
And honestly too, it's that's not like that's an ideal, that's majority, but I definitely have days where there's certain projects or certain deadlines that are coming up and I am kind of working at my computer. That's not the most majority of time, but I definitely have times like that. And that's okay too, but you are still making a priority to not skip things and to do something for your body. And sometimes again, we put business, we put family, we put all this stuff before us. But something, my mom passed away a couple months ago and her health declined for a while. And I think something that I realized, just being a mom and just, have all these things in our life is that my mom lived an unhealthy lifestyle. So I think it was just that generation really didn't understand or put a priority on this stuff. But um, a lot of moms nowadays will be like, well, I got to put all these things first because I got to take care of it. But at the end of the day, if something does happen to you, you are going to be placing a burden on your children. And that's something I experienced that after my mom got diagnosed, even though she may have thought the same thing of like my kids come first or my work or whatever comes first before me, is that now there's this unnecessary burden that I think we all don't want to give our kids, but I
Right.
had it. Now I was filled with like anxiety and worry, worrying about her.
Mhm.
And so also again, putting myself in that position and understanding that makes me more motivated to be like, no, I need to take care of me because I want to be in my 90s and my kids are like, oh yeah, my mom's fine. She's
Right.
good. I don't have to worry about her. So all those little scenarios I think help me when I'm feeling like I can't do it. It just pushes me to do it and be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no, you need to make this a priority.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. And sometimes you don't think about it from that perspective.
No, you kind of got to force that.
But
That's why I'm
now
like, I kind of have to force myself in those scenarios.
yeah, but now I'm thinking like I need to pack my lunch and have it sitting next to. I think I'd be more apt to like I wouldn't forget if it's sitting here staring me in the face.
Yeah.
So
Thing.
that's how I feel with water. Hence why I have my water. I will go all day without drinking. That is like my downfall.
Me too.
Yes, I
I
do not
forget.
care.
Like I forget these things.
Yes. And so if I don't have it in front of me,
Yeah.
I will absolutely be a dehydrated girly the whole day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if it's right here in front of me, I will do it. But
Yeah.
if it's not,
Yep.
it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Okay, let
Exactly.
me ask you this because you're the nutrition expert. Like, what is the real scoop with the water? How much water, like ideally, should we be drinking every day?
I don't even know. There's like a classic rule. It's like 1 ounce per body pound, whatever. Um, I am a little bit more lax than that. I definitely think I do a lot more by thirst. Now, granted, if that was me, I would never drink water. So you kind of have to train your body
Yeah.
into wanting that. And then naturally, it actually will start having those cravings. And then that's when I follow that. And same with hunger, right? Like we kind of got to train our body. And then naturally, hunger will occur without us, needing to push through it. So I with the basic one of like I don't even know how many ounces this is, but a lot of people have like the Stanleys and just the bigger cups, and honestly I'm like drink a couple of those a day and then use the rest by thirst and let that guide you. I don't think that there's a miracle ounce amount. I truly don't. And then obviously if you're more active, you sweat a lot, you go to the sauna, then yes, you definitely need more water, you need to add the electrolytes in. But for the most part, the average person, I really think that you can have like two or three of those and that's good.
My son lugs around a gallon jug with him all
Mm.
day, every day, and that's what he drinks from.
Is he an athlete? Does he need that much?
He's
Um,
busy.
he's busy. Yeah, he has a
Okay.
lawn care business and things, so he's outside.
Oh yeah.
A lot of movement. Like if they track their mileage, like they walk like 10 to 15 miles a day
Oh yeah.
doing that.
And yeah, it depends on where you live. I'm sure that's hot and he's sweating and yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
But
You may
it's
want
just
to
funny.
add some
Like I can't imagine
electrolytes.
lugging around a gallon.
He may want to add some electrolytes because if he is like sweating a lot or whatnot, he may want to like replete those because those do get depleted
Mhm.
obviously as we sweat. So we do need to,
Okay.
give
So
him some extra.
debunk this one for me then. How about like eating at your desk? Because that's what I do. I've been ever since I can remember working, I've always ate at my desk. Like I just eat as I'm working and not really thinking about it, just kind of doing it and staying productive.
I mean, I kind of like I said, I have seasons where it's like if there's a deadline, I will do that.
Hmm.
But I do think that it's important to make sure to give your meal time its time. And I do think that we're a lot of like we're trying to get things done, we're eating on the go, but so much of our digestive enzymes and our stomach acid is produced by that rest and digest phase. And so when we're kind of still in fight or flight and, go, 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 but we're eating, you then might find yourself more bloated and not just digesting well in general. And so there is a lot of beauty behind actually just like savoring your food, like smelling it and actually thinking about it and being more intuitive. Your digestive enzymes do so much better. And I do a lot of stool testing, so I see that this is a really big problem for people is that their enzymes really suck. And so that's a constant conversation that I have to have of like we need to get into rest and digest and not mindlessly be eating and doing all these other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got to make a whole bunch of changes here. So
And
one of
sometimes it feels overwhelming. I know it does because there's all these like things that you have to do, but I always say just choose one area, right? Like it's all about food, stress, sleep, environment, movement, right? Those are the top five things. But just focus on one area first and, master it to a certain, to the best of your ability, and then like you can move on to the next one. So,
yeah. So can we go into like start getting into like stress hormones and that kind
yeah.
of stuff? Because I feel like that's probably something that's affecting a lot of our listeners, especially now, like our industry is it's very stressful. There's been so many major changes. Like people are making decisions to shut their business down, and
Oh my
there's
gosh.
just a lot of stress right
Yeah.
now.
Yes. Yes. And I will say, I never want people to feel a victim to stress.
Mm.
And I think that's a lot of mindset work that has to be done, but I am the excuse remover. I will say I'm proud of that. I should get an award. But I have teens that are in sports, so we're really busy there. I'm building a business, my social life, marriage, all that stuff, as well as my doctorate at the time. And then on top of that, this is all happening at the same time. Me and my husband were renovating a house, and we
Oh
weren't
my
contracting;
goodness.
we were manually doing the labor.
Wow.
And I still had time for self-care. And so
And you're
that's what I
still
said.
drinking your water, eating your
I
meal.
was still drinking my water and drinking my meals and still exercising. And that was all happening. Now, granted, that's not a long time, but that was a good solid like 3 to 4 months of like heavy stuff. And so I do believe that we can't sit here and say, like, I just have a stressful job. There's, again, a lot of things we can't control in the world that can bring on stress. And I always bring it back to what can you control? And that is the food and the sleep and all that. And our body is looking at safety in all of those ways. So even not eating enough, it's very stressful on the body
Mm.
because it's trying to maximize what you are eating it and putting it to where it needs to go, right? And so if it's feeling like there is, even though it's not, we have food all around us. I have the grocery store down the street, but my body doesn't know that. My body's only communication is what I'm putting in the mouth and what I'm feeding it. So it could absolutely be like, it's a famine. This is very dangerous. We need to, hold on to the food. We're not going to lose weight because we're going to hold on to it. We're going to divert it to where it needs to go. So when it comes to stress, I'm all about, well, how can we teach our body safety in other ways?
Mhm.
So when there are stressors that we have no control of, like for mine is with my mom dying, I was able to still stay really balanced because I had all these other things working for me. My body was feeling safe in other areas. So my threshold was better, right? So I would say always starting there. And that means making sure we're fueling our body, making sure we're not over exercising. As much as people say, like, I need exercise for stress. If anything, that usually tells me you're addicted to stress and you just don't know how to relax. So I usually will actually dial back on exercise whenever I am feeling like very stressful and I'm feeling it building. I always make sure to go out in nature. Studies show just going out in nature, I believe, 3 times a week for 30 minutes in those 3 times lowers our cortisol.
Mm.
And it's at the end of the day, it's all just about slowing down. And to me, another thing is infusing fun. We're all work and work, family, all these things, but at the end of the day, what are we doing every day that you truly enjoy? For me, that's reading because I'm a book nerd.
Yeah.
But for someone else, it may be crocheting or it may be kayaking, whatever it is, right? We need to make sure that we are putting that in our weekly to-do list as much as we are anything else in business.
Hmm.
So I just feel like the imbalance, whenever someone is really stressed, there's a lot of other stressors that we need to start controlling and then taking those breaks. And I think I also had to learn that because I would say stress is the thing that I have to be the most on point about because
Yeah.
it can definitely take over for me too. But there's just been so many times where it was such a busy week. I have so much to do. My list is never ending. But then I'm forced to, I don't know, maybe we had to go somewhere for the weekend and go see friends for like a baby shower or whatever. And I remember experiencing after that weekend of like, my body feels like really good right now. And those are just the little things that we have to go through and be like, I really need to make this a priority.
Right.
There's even one time where I was really like, there was just so much on my to-do list, and I was just fighting this so much. But I knew I'm like, Lana, just take 5 minutes, go lay down, do some deep breathing, and get back to it. But I was fighting it, and I don't know why. But I was fine. I'm like, it's fine. I'll just get through it. And I'm like, oh, part of me when stress is high is like, I have trouble like catching my breath. I'm feeling a little heavy and anxious in my chest. And so I was like, I'm gonna go do that. And I did it. And I was so mad at myself because I'm like, I feel great now.
Right. And I knew this. I knew this ahead of
I
time.
knew this. And I still fought through it. And I was like, that was a reminder for me of like,
Right.
I really do just need to slow down.
I mean, Corinne, we
So,
say this all the time too. It's like we're our own bosses. We are the ones
Right.
putting these unrealistic expectations on ourselves.
Right.
We don't have somebody
Yes.
coming to us and saying, you have to meet this deadline.
Right.
We do
Well,
it
and you
to
know what
ourselves.
this reminds me of? It reminds me of when we did coaching with Jenny Melrose, and she would always, every week, she would say, like, start by telling me something you did for yourself this week. And Christina and I would both be like, deer in the headlights,
That
like,
question stressed me out more than the
so much.
stress
And we're like,
did.
oh crap, we were supposed to, in a whole week, we were just supposed to do one self-care thing. We were both like, what do we do? What can I make up? Like,
We
does
were
it count
stressed
that
out
I like,
over that.
yeah, I hit my snooze button once one day? Like, what qualifies?
oh my gosh, it's so funny that I mean, it does get easier because then
Yeah.
now, like, once you get in like the movement, you'll be like, oh, I did so many things.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's been a while since I've been there that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yes, take time for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
again, put yourself in that scenario. If you were diagnosed with something, would you
Hmm.
disagree with what you've always tried to push
Right.
through? And most
Oh,
of the
that
time,
so works on me. Like the cradle Catholic in me, as soon as you said it was like, oh, that's the one I got to
done.
use. Like I feel so much guilt over that. Like I do not want to confront that situation and then have to justify myself to the doctor. Like
Right.
I want to
Yes.
go in and get the A+ and be like, oh no, yesterday I did 30 minutes of self-care. I ate everything I was supposed to. I drank all
Yes.
my water.
Yes. And I would say too, there's going to be different seasons of your life. Like I have seasons where my like routines are very simple, very straightforward. Like it's very simple. And then times where I have extra. And so then I get a little bougie. And then I'm like, I'm doing casserole packs, I'm doing red light, I'm doing sauna, I'm doing all these things. But that's not every season.
Yeah.
But there are seasons that I feel like we just need to become more flexible with ourselves of
Yeah.
being able to read the room and know when we need to pivot and change, take some things away or add some things when it feels right.
Well, and I think we feel like our businesses are so important, and they are. And this is something I tell my
Yeah.
son all the time because he's 19, he has his own business, he's going to school full time for an engineering degree, and I tell him, I'm like, you just need to remember, you are not curing cancer. Like this is
Yeah.
not like somebody's life does not depend on what you do. So don't worry about all those extra outside factors because you are what matters and not and sometimes, like, I have to listen to my own advice sometimes
Yeah.
because, like,
Actually,
sitting here
that's an
creating
activity.
ebooks, I am not curing cancer by doing this. Like, nobody's life is depending on what I'm doing. So it can slow a
Yeah.
little bit. That's okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually an activity of if your daughter or son came up to you and asked you or said, I'm feeling really stressed out, I'm so anxious, like what would you tell them? And most of the time, you have the answer within yourself.
Yeah.
You just actually have to do it. But even if you're not curing cancer, at the end of the day, your voice matters and what you do matters. And you could be an inspiration to someone who maybe
Right.
feels lost. And so what we do matters, but we need to make sure we're okay first to
Mhm.
show up for them, right?
And it's hard, I think. So, like I have a like I'm a very type A personality, and I have a hard time shutting my brain off. So even if I can't nap. Like I've never, even as like
I'm
a
not a napper
toddler,
either.
I have never been able to nap because I can't shut the brain off enough to like slow it down. So even when I go to bed at night, I'm thinking of my to-do list. I wake up in the morning, it's my to-do. I have a very hard time with that. There's very few times when I'm able to completely shut it down.
I am like that. I'm like that too. And I'm a digital planning girl.
Mhm.
It's like my favorite thing ever, but it's definitely like my routine both evening and night because I'm the same way. And there's something so powerful of bringing it from your brain to paper.
Yeah.
Even the little things, I feel like I can definitely rest and like read. I usually will read before bed, and just focus on that. But I'm the same
Mhm.
way. So yes, when I wake up, I have my matcha. I am planning my to-do list. I'm pulling things from my weekly to
Mhm.
do into my day to do, understanding like, okay, I have these appointments. This is what I can fit in, and just being realistic about
Yeah.
that. And making sure again you are scheduling your meals and your workouts and all that stuff in it with it.
I love it. I love it. Because those stress hormones are awful. And they really do, I think sometimes, for me anyway, it holds me back because like I get in that situation where like I'm paralyzed. Like I don't know what to do,
Yeah.
so I do nothing. Or
Yeah.
nothing productive. I do stupid stuff that
Yeah,
doesn't
we're
matter.
really good at being busy, and we're always telling people not to do that.
Yeah. Don't
Be
be
Yeah.
busy,
productive,
be
not busy.
productive.
But honestly, rest is productive. And I would say that's a kind of a
Oh,
mindset shift we all have to like remind ourselves of. And sometimes when we are so stressed and we are paralyzed and all like we want to do is just nothing, is honestly that's what we should do. It might be what your body is calling you to do and be like, sit on that couch and play your iPhone games. And sometimes I find myself that is what I'm doing. And I'm like, you know what? I think my body needs this. It needs to like decompress because if we keep again pushing through, we're eventually it's going to go to burnout. Eventually, then your business is going to show you're not going to show up for how you are. And then that's impacting not just you, but then the people you're trying to serve.
yeah.
So I think we need to like allow ourselves to rest and know that this is really productive
Yeah.
in and of itself.
Yeah. I know when I sleep at night, that I've always said sleeping is my superpower. Like I am a good sleeper.
You
And
are a good sleeper.
I
from
love
some,
that.
from somebody who has shared a room with me. I'm very good at that. And like nothing wakes me up, but I've got to like get to that point. But I have found like again, I tell my son this when he has difficulty sleeping. I'm like, read a book. I'm like that movement of your eyes just going back and forth like knocks me out in no time.
I know I hate that though. If I'm reading a good book, I'm
Yeah,
like, no, stay up. I need to know what happens.
I know. But I
Yeah.
can't read anymore. So yeah, I think
Love
I love that idea too of just taking 15 minutes to I love that so much more than like scrolling social media or something. I feel like
Yeah.
if you take the time to read or like that would calm me down more than being in like the doom scrolling phase.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And that obviously pulls creativity too. So
Right.
I find if I am scrolling and I'm kind of hitting like a funk creativity, like creativity of, well, I can't say that word, in like creating content, I'm like, that's a huge flag
Yeah.
that I have consumed way too much.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, how about talking about like female hormones and like how this ties into things? Sorry for all you men out there that may be listening to us right now, but I'm going to assume that most of our listeners are female. I've told my doctor this before. I said, I feel like so I just turned 50 this year. I said, and I feel like someone is in my head flipping switches, turning knobs, and there's a fog machine. Like
Yeah.
that's what I feel like all the time. Like I just can't get it together. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to being very sharp, very alert. I find myself forgetting things. I don't know if it's age or if it's just there's just way too much going on.
It could be, I will say I have some patients who are in their 60s and 70s and they're healthier than my 20-year-olds.
Hmm.
So I don't believe that age is something
Okay.
that you age, you'll get worse and worse and worse.
Good, because I
I
can't control that.
Yes, it's just more so I think when people like it's when I had 30 or 40 or 50. In all reality, if you really look back at like the past couple decades, 3 decades, 2 decades, whatever, what can you really look back and say, and this is to everyone, like what were you doing? Like, were you sleeping? Were you fueling your body correctly? Were you moving? Were you stressed out? Were you not stressed out? And a lot of the times, it's not age, it's just the buildup of a lot
Yeah.
of the times. It's just from not taking care of our body. And so I see that a lot with like that 30-year-old hit, like I had 30 and like it went downhill. It's like, well, you were in college, you were drinking a lot, you weren't sleeping, you were drinking a lot of coffee, you were stressed out from college. And so it's just like, it doesn't, obviously, maybe college has been done for 6 years, but it's just a buildup. That's all. So that's really like what a lot of that is. Now, there are some hormonal shifts for sure that happen, and your hormones will start to shift, and there are some symptoms that can come with that. And unfortunately, there isn't anything natural when your ovaries go into retirement and they said, I've done my job and I'm done for life. There's no reviving them. So if that is something that is a little bit more symptom intensive, then that's when people explore like bioidentical hormones and stuff
Right.
like that. But if you are still cycling, and there's still some changes. I think when you hit 40, you're just naturally assumed to be in like perimenopause in general. And so everyone is different in how they have to adjust their lifestyle because what you did in your 30s, the diet, the exercise, it is very different in your 40s. You usually have to shift that. And so that's why it's like there's never this like, I've arrived. I know everything. I know my body. This is how I should eat. This is how I should work out. Nope, give it 10 years, it'll probably change. And so
Yeah.
we got to be flexible with that. But there is a lot of ways that women can really use our cycle and our menstrual cycle for business. Because in our follicular phase, and this is like the day you bleed to right before ovulation, our energy is like much higher. Our creativity juices are usually flowing more. So it's a really great time to um, make new projects, start new projects, brainstorm, create more strategy. And then ovulation, that's still where, that confidence, that energy is really peaking. So really good about like getting on with all your projects and editing and organizing. But then when we go into our luteal phase, and this is like post ovulation to right before you start your bleed, this is when we start seeing things decline. We will start seeing energy decline, very normal. This is when we start seeing creative juices start to decline, very normal. And sometimes I think as women, again, we try to push through and believe that we should be on point at 100% from day 1 to day 29. And unfortunately, we are not men. We do not work that way. So I think there needs to be a lot of grace that's given. And so if you can plan, like, okay, I know my luteal phase, I'm just not going to be creative. I'm just going to kind of want to do a little bare minimum. That's okay, but make sure that you're, emphasizing a lot in that follicular phase. And that way you are just kind of plugging and playing in your luteal phase and stop putting that like guilt on you of like, I should be creating, like I should be doing all these things when no, you shouldn't.
Right.
I wish I knew this 25 years
I
ago.
was just thinking, yeah, like I'm menopausal now, so like that's it. Like this, I have no
Done.
cycle to work
Retired.
with, but yeah, I'm like I could have completely like reworked my schedule, like
I
what
could be a
days I
bazillionaire.
batch on. Yeah.
Yes.
I,
Yes. Yes.
I could be a
Yes.
bazillionaire if I had harnessed that.
If only I'd known the power of my period when I was still having it. Yeah.
Even though,
So
I mean, if you were an entrepreneur, if you're a corporate, unfortunately, that is never taken into account, unfortunately.
I'd be like, you should hire me because I'm in my follicular phase right now and I am feeling very on point.
I only do interviews in my follicular
Yeah.
phase.
So all you young girls out there listening, harness
Yes.
that.
yeah.
Do not let that go by. Take it from the ones who have let it pass.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That is awesome advice. That is like the golden nugget here, I think.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And we can find, I mean, there's also beauty in menopause. I have women who decide not to do any HRT, and then I have some that do. I would say just my only suggestion there, and we will be actually adding this on, but since we don't do pharmaceuticals, it's a little out of my wheelhouse. But looking to have someone that is in the wheelhouse on our team, but. Always looking for bioidentical is key. But the beauty in menopause, if you do end up doing bioidentical hormones, is it actually becomes consistent. So we can kind of get like what men have, which is like that hormones are consistent all the time. And with menopause, if it's not pellets you kind of do rise really high and then you drop. So it's not my favorite. Not my favorite, but if you're doing something oral or whatnot, yeah, you can have pretty level hormones all the time,
Wow.
which is nice.
People would not recognize me. They would be like, what has happened? Like I am all highs and lows. Like
Me
there's
too.
that zone does not exist for me.
I'm either all in or all out.
That's right.
Yes. So that's, I always say, I'm like, I'd be so sad when I lose my period, but I'm like, I guess there's some perks to that too, I guess.
No, well, wait till you turn 50, girl. You got lots of good things coming. Like
Yeah.
mentally, lots of good things come your way. So what else
Okay.
do we need to know to become better entrepreneurs, like harness our health to become better entrepreneurs?
Yes.
Yes. So I would, my gosh, that's such a loaded question. I'm like, I can go so many places with this. Um, I would say I'm a big data-driven person. So I love data. So like I said, I do stool testing, we do blood, we do urine. I'm like, any bodily fluid, give it to me. I will fully take it. Because I want entrepreneurs to make sure that they are checking before they feel anything.
Mhm.
Because there's biochemical changes that are happening underneath the surface before any symptoms rise. Then we get symptoms and then we get diagnosis, right? So I've always say there's things that I recommend doing yearly. Like if you are in your reproductive phase with your hormones, I recommend checking those yearly. We do a really big comprehensive blood panel that has like 74 markers, has like cardiovascular disease, thyroid, blood sugar, metabolic panels, just the whole shebang. Unfortunately, a lot of these things aren't naturally covered by insurance. What you get in your yearly is very, very, very basic. So yeah, it's just healthcare, I guess. That's a whole conversation in and of itself. But those are ones that I recommend doing yearly and also checking for micronutrient deficiencies. Because again, if you don't have like the very basic building blocks of hormones to cellular energy, then we're really working like an uphill battle. So those are things that I always say check before you even feel it, because I promise you there's probably things you have to work on, and knowledge is power there. And there's some things I like to do maybe occasionally every 2 or 3 years, like stool testing. That's not a very regular one unless you have something going on. But always just stay on top of your health, because that data is going to give you exactly what you need.
Hmm.
So you can ignore all the noise of like, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. That data gives you what you need to do. And that's like what we're so passionate about. So people can stop guessing and know what their body needs, and that way they can function the best of their ability.
So
So,
who else
Lahana,
wants to
you work
send?
with people to do this, right? Like you run a lot of those tests, you do that diagnosis. Now, are you in Texas? Is
Yeah.
that right? All right. So, do you only work locally, or do you work with people? Like,
Yeah.
can
I
people
know,
send their labs
because I
in
want to
too?
send
Yeah.
all my bodily fluids
I
to
know.
you
I
right
want to
now.
send you all my fluids.
All the things.
That
Yeah,
doesn't
we
sound
work.
inappropriate at all.
Honestly, it's fine. I feel like everyone's like, I'm sorry if this is TMI. I'm like, girl, there's no such thing as TMI here. I've seen it all literally. We work with people all over the US. The only state is New York. So we have team that can work all over. So yeah, that's not a problem. And we have mobile phlebotomists all over the US as well. So if there is blood work, we usually send you kits, but there's mobile phlebotomists that will come and draw your blood. And then some of the testing, like hormones, like through urine and stool testing, you just do at home. So we just send you the kit and then you send it into the
Oh,
lab.
okay. I got nervous there that I had to like I would have to do my own blood
Do
work
your
and
own
send
blood.
you like do
No,
that myself. I'm like, yeah, no, Chris doesn't do it.
no. So yes, no, it's my favorite thing ever. I love getting either that understanding of like, oh my gosh, how I feel makes sense. Because a lot of the times women are coming to us and they're like, my doctor keeps saying that I'm fine, but I'm not fine. Like I feel like something is going on. And I always remind them that, healthcare needs a diagnosis and then they can provide a treatment. But if you're not in a way sick enough and you don't have an official diagnosis, then technically there's nothing they can do. And
Mhm.
that's just our healthcare system. And again, there's a time and a place and it does work for certain things, but it's the women that are in this gray area. That's just like, I don't feel good, but they say I'm fine. So there probably is something going on. If you're not feeling okay, there's probably something going on and it's not in your head.
I see you
Yeah,
looking at the website, Corinne.
I am. I
I know.
am.
So tell us more about like so you gave us the high level of the services you provide. Do you have classes and things like that as well?
Yeah, so those are free. Those are a little piece of my brain. So you can kind of see how my brain works. So like hypothyroid, right? Like a lot of the times people are like, "Oh, I'm on thyroid meds." Okay, well, why is your thyroid off in the first place? Like, let's understand that. So those classes are free, and I have hypothyroid, weight loss, gut, the whole shebang. And that way you can kind of get to see how my brain works because we do work very differently. I basically keep asking why until I get to the like root of it. But yes, our next steps is scheduling an intro call, which is 20 minutes, just to make sure that we're a fit and we can help with what you're looking for. There is a video once you fill out the form on our services page that will take you and explain literally everything from our membership to the build your own bundle to a single session, the cost. It answers 90% of questions. And then also on that page is like my calendar that you can book the call. And that's pretty much like the next steps if you're interested in working with us and sending me your fluids. But on that call, I usually will get a game plan of like, how are you feeling? What's going on? And then I'll have a good idea of like where I would want to start with like lab testing because there's so many labs that we could do, but I like to do one at a time. So it's not overwhelming.
Okay.
Very cool.
This is great to know. This has been one of my favorite conversations that we've had
I
so
know.
far on this podcast.
Yay!
Well, and it's funny because my doctor here, like I spent a long time looking for a doctor because I wanted preventative care instead of like reactive care because I'm like I would
Yes.
like to be healthy and not try to get healthy after I've screwed everything up. And this is so in
Yes.
line with that
Right.
philosophy. I love
Yes.
that. And she doesn't do all of these tests. She's also, yeah, she does blood work but I'm sure not all the things that you're testing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
like I
I've never
said, they're
submitted a stool sample for sure.
and there's like can be stool testing and insurance, but again, it's aiming for a diagnosis. And so if something's not a diagnosis, there's nothing they can do. That's why insurance just doesn't do it. So
Right.
that's even things like mycotoxins and environmental toxins. We do that test a lot. And so people find that they have mold internally or they have like high levels of glyphosate or BPA, and all these things can be really disruptive towards hormones, et cetera, et cetera. And so they're like, why aren't we testing for this? And I'm like, what are they going to give you? There's nothing that they can give you.
Right.
There's no pharmaceutical for that. So I'm like, that's why these things aren't tested. So once I feel like people get that, then they look at the healthcare industry very differently. They're like, okay,
Right.
I get it. I get it.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a self-care item, girls. Everybody or gentlemen, anybody who's out there listening, this is your self-care item,
Mhm.
to find out where you're at and take care of yourself because it'll only make
Yes.
you more powerful than you already are.
Yes, yes. I always say there's a next level of health you probably don't know about. So even the people that come to us and they're like, I feel pretty good. I just want some labs, just, out of curiosity. And then we do some work and they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I had energy before. I have so much energy. And that's all like, there's usually a next level that you just don't know yet. And we want to unlock that.
So, Lahana, if our listeners did want to like connect with you, learn more, ask you more questions, probe that brain of yours, like what's the best way for them to get in contact with you and to find you?
Yes, our website, nuvitru.com, nuvitru.com is a great place for that next step. We're on all social medias, but Instagram is my favorite. At Dr. Lahana, DrLahana, and then at Nuvitru Wellness is our business IG. But the Dr. Lahana one, I'm always on. So like I'm always the ones in the DMs and all of that. So if you have any questions, just shoot me a DM. Be happy to probably send you an audio message. So just beware.
Awesome.
And we'll be sure to put all those links in the show notes for you so you can easily grab that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Lahana. And if you want to take action on what we talked about today, make sure you go check out all of her classes that she has so you can get a feel for her personality and how she approaches your health. I think it's going to be packed with so much information.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd love to hear from you listeners. So tag us on Instagram at The Smart Influencer with your biggest takeaway, or drop us a DM and let us know how you're applying what you heard here today.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that. And as always, thank you for spending time with us today. We'll be back next week with another episode to help you grow smarter, work less, and earn more. See you then.